loved to dance to ever since I first met her.
What year was that?
I met her first time I actually met her was October of 1962. We weren't dating or anything at that time. It's actually kind of funny in a way. When we met, there were some fraternity brothers and I. We went to, I don't remember where we were, but we happened to see these girls, and she was one of them, and we met each other. But the funny thing was, she ended up dating a good friend of mine, a fraternity brother. I was dating a good friend of hers. Gee, you were dating a guy by the name of George Bayer. I was dating Kay Adams, who was a good friend of hers. Well, later on, probably sometime in November, I started trying to get her to go out with me. And there was no real thing between the two of them, her and George. They were just dating, that was it. And she kept refusing. I don't want Kay to be mad, okay? Well, I don't know what happened. Eventually Kay had to get mad, I guess, I don't know, because she decided to go out with me. And we didn't have our first date, actually, if I remember right. It was probably in January of '63, like the very first part of January. Well, it was a dance that our fraternity was putting on. And it's called Rags to Riches. Unbeknownst to the girls, that title meant something. I went with another fraternity brother. His girlfriend had come from Cleveland for the dance, and she happened to be staying with Judy. So we made that arrangement. So he and I go to pick them up. They are dressed to the nines. They are dolled up like you wouldn't believe. And here I am, pair of old khakis on, sneakers, a phys ed t-shirt from the college. That was it. My fraternity brother looked like a bum. I don't know if some of you remember, his name was Mike O'Brien. Okay, I called him Owie. Here his date, Diane Rhodes. She was really dolled. It was almost like a formal thing, a very frilly dress that she had on. He looked like he'd just fallen off a turnip truck or something, He had an old beat up felt hat on. A sport coat that was 2 sizes too big, which was something because he weighed like 250 pounds. Beat up shoes, baggy pants. That was our first date. It's a wonder it didn't become the last too, the way things were at that time. Everything turned out fine. Okay? So we dated for a while, about roughly a month. And I asked her then to go with me, to be an item. And she accepted. And then we were sitting on the couch in her mom and dad's house. And at that time, you know how in high school you might wear the guy's class ring or something like that. Well, in college it's fraternity pins, if you happen to belong to the fraternity. So I gave her my fraternity pin to wear. And it happened to be, it was the night of February the 13th, but when I asked her, it was after midnight, so it was Valentine's Day. So we started going together on Valentine's Day, 1963. And we had dates continuously, of course, since we were going together. But the fraternity brothers living at the house where I lived They knew what kind of a date it had been, whether it had been good or bad, when I came back to the house. They could tell by how the side door to the house closed, how hard it might be. In fact, I was so upset with her one night that I came home, back to the fraternity house. You know, I shouldn't have done it, but I did slam the door. When I went in, slammed it so hard that the handrail on the wall going upstairs to the second floor fell off the wall. Then in September of that year, '63, we decided to get engaged, and we did. You know, never will forget going to Al Kaminsky's Jewelers. Bought her a ring there. We became engaged. And then something happened in '64. Things just weren't working out right between us. We broke up. She literally gave me the ring back. So what did I do with it? I took it back to Al Kaminsky and got one for myself. Got this diamond to wear on my pinky, okay? Needless to say, she got word right away when I would be like in the snack bar at the college. Whoops, sorry about that, Mike. The snack bar at the college, the people would call her and say, hey, you ought to see that ring that Larry's wearing, you know? Okay. Well, we finally patched things up. So what do? Back to Al Kaminsky. Same ring. Cost me $15 more to get it back because he had to resize it again. So then I gave her the ring back. Then moving on to the following year, we got married on July 17th, 1965. That was between my junior and senior year of college. So needless to say, she was working. She helped support me while I was going to college. I did work as much as I could until I was planning on going into teaching. I had to do my student teaching that year, and there was no way I could work a job at Syntrex, of all places. I was working there. They manufactured washer dryers. And she supported me while I was leaving that job to go student teach, because I didn't get off until midnight, you know, second shift. You know, I wouldn't get to sleep until like 3 in the morning. I'm not wanting to go home and go right to bed. I just never can do that. And so she did support me while I was teaching that time, which was a period of about 9 weeks. Then, I forgot to mention one thing though, about getting married. We had gone to maybe 3, 4 weddings of other fraternity brothers in previous years, like the year before that, or maybe even earlier than that. And when you go there, there'd be maybe 6 or 7 of other fraternity brothers that would be at that. Well, apparently they couldn't believe that she and I were getting married, because when we were married, there were 23 brothers there. Like, they couldn't believe it. We're finally getting married, you know, because of that off and on relationship that we had at the time. So, forwarding ahead there, moving forward, 6 years. Our firstborn, Shonda, was born. That was on June 4th, 1971. She was born 1 hour and 18 minutes after we got to the hospital. Well, that's nothing. That's nothing. No, that sounds quick. That's nothing. Then we forward another 3 years. Tiffany is born. That's March 15th, 1974. After our marriage being the greatest moment, as far as I'm concerned, in my life, the birth of these two are only second to that. Yeah. Well, Tiffany was born, I think Judy was trying to set a record or something here, because Tiffany was born 45 minutes after she got to the hospital. Well, Judy was one to say, I'm not going to go there and lie in a bed. Not going to do it. Yeah. She said she did her labor at home. What did she do? She'd be outside, after midnight, just walking up and down the sidewalk in front of her house. That was how she, went through her labor. And I remember Shonda was even up the night before Tiffany was born. You weren't even 3 yet, I don't think. You were about 2 years, 9 months or something like that. And she was helping Mom with her labor is what she was doing. I don't know, she was saying something like she had a bellyache in her back or something like that. I don't know what, but she even told Shonda to go in and get me up. I was asleep after midnight. Well, this was like 4 or 5 in the morning. She goes in there and tries to wake me up. What did I tell her? I said, get my socks. Well, I don't even know what that was about. I was still asleep, I told her to get my socks. But anyhow, 45 minutes. That's cutting it close. Not made a little note here. I said we never tried a third child. After the first 2, I figured it would be born in the car on the way to the hospital. One thing a lot of people agree with on Judy, about Judy, she never met a stranger. Never. A good example of that, shortly after we moved to Fairfield in 1985, the phone rang. It was the wrong number. She talked to the woman for about 25 minutes on the wrong number. Yeah. That's not me. I went, wrong number, click, like that. But not Judy. Okay? As some people have said, Diane said, Phil, I think, alluded to it also, that she would do almost anything for you. If you needed help in some way, she would do it. That's it. She'd give you the shirt off her back if she had to. Our life, we had a lot of peaks and valleys. You have your good times and your bad times. Well, it's the peaks and valleys are constantly like this, going through life. But I've heard somebody say this one time, and I agree with it. Nothing ever grows on the mountain. It's always in the valleys where things grow. So, as long as you learn from those life lessons that are, you wonder why it's happening. Yeah. As long as you learn something from it, you'll grow from it. She was the love of my life. But most of all, she was my best friend. And I have another thing to say about that. I heard somebody else say this one time. Don't remember who. Before you can be in love, you have to be in like. You have to like the person. Is it love or is it just infatuation? What is it? You have to really like them before you can love them. And I didn't have this written down, but I've thought about it, that I didn't realize how much I loved her until she was gone. It's kind of hard to take. But I do miss her immensely. Like I tell people, I said, the nighttime is the worst time, the evenings. I said, I tell people too, I said, I talk to the dogs, but they don't talk back. Well, maybe I don't want to know what they're thinking, so. I have two more things. Here's one of the things that makes me happy, you know, even though she's gone. I was at the hospital on Monday. She passed away Tuesday morning. When I left there to go home, she was lying in the bed. I went to the side of her bed. I bent over. I kissed her on the forehead. I said, "I love you." And she had her eyes closed, so she's lying there because she was so tired. I said, "Did you hear what I said?" She had her eyes closed. She just nodded her head and said, "Yeah." That was the last thing I ever said to her. The last words she heard from me were those 3 words. So don't ever forget to tell somebody you love them, because it might be the last words they hear. I see so many times people get in a fight about something with their wife or their husband. They leave the house in a huff. Maybe they're in a car wreck and are killed, what have you, and that's how the life ended between the two of them. There's no way. That is no way. Okay. One of the things that people often talk about when somebody passes away is their legacy. What do they leave behind? All you have to do, look at the first row. 2 wonderful, great daughters. 2 sons-in-law that love their wives and their family. And 5 of the best grandkids I could ever hope for. Okay, that's the legacy that she leaves behind. Okay. Miss you.